Hi, I'm Gary Burnett, and today we're going to talk about what's really going on in the convolutional layer of a neural network. Convolutional layers have their roots in biology and how the human visual system works. We have certain neurons in our brain that are trained to respond to very specific patterns of light. For example, vertical bars of light, depicted above as the black bar surrounded by two white bars. When the stimulus for that cell matches the orientation it's trained for, it elicits a big response, as opposed to other patterns of light which will elicit weaker responses. If enough of these cells come together, each doing this simple orientation matching, together they can learn much more complicated patterns, from lines to polygons, all the way up to individual cells that can recognize whole faces. Computer scientists were fascinated by this biological principle, so they adapted it to suit their needs. Now convolutional layers, as they're called, are the basis for some of the most advanced image recognition neural networks. They work by using kernels, or filters, that are specific to a particular pattern, just like the cells in our brain. Only instead, they have to work using pixel values and doing some matrix computations. They're also looking for areas in the image where the pattern of pixel matches their own pattern. And when they find that area, they yield a large value. Notice that they yield similar values for patterns that are very similar, but not exactly like their own. Now in our brains, we have these pattern matching cells spread throughout our entire visual field. So in convolutional layers, we need to have a way to make sure that our kernels can see every part of the image. Let's take a closer look at how this works mathematically. Here we have an input image of a smiley face, where the white pixels have a value of 0, and the black pixels have a value of 1. For this example, the kernel we'll use is shown to the right of the smiley face. Can you think of what it will do to the image? Try and think about that as we continue. On the far right, we have a blank canvas, where we will calculate the pixel values for our output image. We start by placing our kernel in the top left corner of our input image, so that the center of the kernel aligns with the very first pixel in our image. And immediately we run into a problem, where our kernel goes off the screen. To fix this, we'll use what's called zero padding to create a border of 0 pixel values around the input image. Now don't worry, this won't change how effective our kernel is. In fact, it actually helps to keep the output image the same size as the input image. Now we'll take this section of the image and compare it to the kernel. We'll do this by doing a pairwise multiplication of each of the elements and then summing all those together to get the pixel value for our output image. You can think of this as taking the dot product between the kernel and that section of the image. Now in this case, that equals 0. So the first pixel in our output image will be 0. Next, we slide our kernel over to the next section of the image. This centers it on the second pixel in the image. And again, we'll do this dot product operation. And now, just like before, our new pixel value in our output image will be 0. If we keep doing this, eventually sliding our kernel one by one across the entire image, we'll end up with values for every pixel in the output image. Were you able to guess what this kernel was going to do? We used what's called Gaussian blur kernel, which takes your input image and reduces the high frequency information found in it by blurring it. So what we're left with on the right is a blurred version of the original smiley face. There are many types of kernels that exist. Here's a few examples of some simple ones used for image processing. Kernels can be used for edge detection, blurring photos, and sharpening photos. But the common feature about them all is that they're used to extract information from an image that might not have been apparent in the original image. This is what makes them great for tasks such as facial recognition, because you can take a group of kernels and teach them to pick out very specific facial features. This is why convolutional layers are so important in tasks such as image recognition. It's because of the power of this kernel. So I hope you enjoyed today's lesson on convolutional layers and how kernels work. Thanks so much for watching.